Hello, hello.
Hello.
We hope everybody's doing well. If you can hear us, let us know that you can hear us. We are in the room
Yes.
and we're excited to be here. It is another
The
podcast that we're
fourth
doing
one. The
today.
fourth one.
The fourth one. So we're gonna try to do this the best that we can while we can. Do me a favor as y'all come in, please do share this. We want to make sure that it is heard and it is really received. So we
Yes.
excited about it. I think this is going to be a really good conversation. And I hope that we all learn and glean from this kind of conversation we're gonna have tonight. And
Yes.
I think it's gonna be impactful. What you think?
Absolutely.
Think so?
Always.
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 Always. So listen, we're excited. We are excited and we want it to be good. So we want to make sure we can see all of your comments. Let us know some, say some in there so we can see. And it's going to be good. This is going to be good.
Yes.
So we're excited about it. We are excited about it. Round number 4
Yes.
in the room. I want to go right to the comments, see if we can see some stuff in here. And we going to work this thing out together.
Yes.
All right. Okay. All right. So while we're coming in the room, let's just make sure we share this. We're gonna start the conversation. I think it's so important. We want to just start the conversation by appreciating everybody for being a part of the 3D podcast,
Yes.
3D perspective podcast. It has it's a big bit of a challenge, bit of a stretch, but it's good
Yes.
because we want to help and we want to push and we want to motivate individuals to go further and build further and literally become all that they are destined to become. And so that's our goal.
Yes.
That's our initiative, and we want this to go as far as it can go,
Yes.
because we want to help change people's lives along this journey. So we're gonna have this conversation, and I think it's going to be helpful. I think it's going to be really good.
Yes.
And so tonight we're going to really talk about the pressure to perform. That's our conversation. We're going to talk about performance and how it's a pressure in this type of world. Because when we talk about performance, that's the pressure that the world wants us to live in
Mm-hmm.
is to perform. It's to perform, but we're going to talk about it not from just the performance aspect, but purpose aspect,
Mm-hmm.
because that is our goal. Is that you will learn the understanding of it when it comes to our life and when it comes to all that we are. We want to talk about it from a purpose place,
Yes.
a purposeful place. And that's going to be our conversation tonight.
Love it.
And it's going to be really good. So Aaliyah is on this podcast.
I'm back,
So,
y'all.
yep, she's back. She went hiatus, and but now she's back. And so
I'm back.
we back at it, and we're going to do it. So do me a favor, if y'all are in here, as you do get in, I know some of us, we just jump in, and we're going to dive in this, but I want you to share this. I want you to put it out there, and we're going to really make it happen.
Yes.
We're going to make it happen. And I think it's going to be very good. So let's get into this. Here it is. I got a statement I want to start with.
All
I
right.
like starting with
I
statements,
love a good statement.
and I think this is going to be really good. Here it is. In a culture of constant output, we've confused purpose with performance.
Mm.
Can I say it again?
Say it again.
In a culture of constant output, we've confused purpose with performance.
Mm.
So in the world that's constantly moving, constantly pushing, constantly getting and causing, evolution.
Yes.
They years ago they did a study that said that the world evolved every 4 years. I think it's at a point now with the technology
Mm-hmm.
that the world, when we talk about evolve, it changes.
Right.
Not necessarily just evolve in technology, but it changed, and it does a whole lot of that. So when we talk about performance and purpose, purpose is the thing that we are created to be,
Mm-hmm.
but we've confused purpose with performance,
Mm-hmm.
and we say that our performance is really our purpose, and and I think that becomes a very detrimental place.
Yeah.
Would you say
It's
so?
it's like the lack of understanding, honestly.
Yeah,
People feel like, okay, this has to be my purpose if things are going well.
right.
So they confuse that with what they're actually here called to do.
Yeah,
So I feel like that's where it stems from.
yeah, it does, and that's a big thing there, and I think that's a challenge because we live in
Mm-hmm.
in the type of world where we are always pushed to success
Right.
and pushed to that next level, and it has
Mm-hmm.
caused that pressure to really come. It is, and here's the crazy part: it is so culturalized
Right.
for us to perform,
Mm-hmm.
where we tell our children, be on your best behavior,
Mm-hmm.
but that should be their natural behavior.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That like you're telling your kid to perform.
Right.
Don't get me wrong. I tell my kids to be on your best behavior. That you trying to reference that, but I'm
Yeah.
saying is that some things we're telling them to practice,
Mm-hmm.
and it has not become a part of the natural life.
Exactly.
And that's the thing that we have done. We have allowed performance to drive us, and it causes us to miss our purpose.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
And I think that's a big piece there.
It
So
is.
I really want to really drive home in that conversation, because one of the challenges that I really believe that my desire for the 3D podcast, the objective is, when we talk about 3D, we're talking about discover purpose,
Right.
develop potential, and then deploy into leadership or into area of ministry or
Mm-hmm.
whatever that is, but deploy into your assignment.
Right.
And the danger is, I don't want to have these conversations and we talk about, you know, um, purpose as it relates to performance.
Mm.
We got to understand that we are created to be, and God never created us to perform. He created us to be.
Right. You're
you
living
know,
that purpose.
exactly, living that purpose. And I think that's the thing. So let's talk about this. The pressure to perform isn't just external; it's each internal thing. That
For sure.
pressure to perform.
For sure. I mean, especially where comparison is at an all-time high. You look at social media and you look at your peers and you're like, okay, well, they're doing this, they're doing that. So it's easy to, start to doubt yourself because you're like, well, why am I not there?
Right.
You got to understand, you got to go back. Okay, what is my purpose that God has for me?
Mhm.
Trust the journey,
Yeah.
trust the process. And a lot of people like forget about that.
Right.
Just enjoy the journey and have gratitude.
Yep.
So I mean, it's really simple.
Yeah. We got to really break that off.
Yes.
It's a generational barrier.
In the African American community, big time.
It is. It
Big
is.
time.
Big time. And I think that is a very dangerous thing. And I think this is what we're going to start to experience in this season of our life,
Mm-hmm.
is the breaking of that.
Yeah.
The breaking of that. So I'm gonna dive even further in this conversation.
Yeah.
This is a good conversation. I think
Uh-huh.
this is gonna be real good. But I like points. I kind of like to drive that from that angle. And so one of the things while I was thinking about it today, one of the things that really got to me is the culture trains us to perform, right? But
Mhm.
purpose calls us to be. So let's talk about that. We are trained to perform, but purpose call us to be. What is the difference between your thoughts? I'm gonna pick your brain and we're
Mhm.
gonna really just have this conversation. And but performance and purpose, right?
Mhm.
Performance, the purpose. So being and doing are
Right.
two different things,
Right.
right? So if we are gonna really like evolve,
Mhm.
how do we move past that? What's your thought on that? I want to hear
My
that.
thought is if you stop.
Yep.
Like you're not gonna go far.
Mhm.
It's kind of like you're gonna be going on a run for a little while, but at the end of the day, if you don't understand the whole reason why you're waking up every day, why you're chasing your dreams and, trying to reach people and things of that nature, then you're not gonna get where you need to be, where God has called you to be.
Yeah. Yeah. You lose it. You can lose that reason real easy.
Easy. And you can burn out easy because it's
Mhm.
always just like, okay, I'm getting up, I'm doing this. Like you're working harder than what you really need to
Yeah.
if you don't have that understanding.
Yeah. You're working harder than you need to. Because we work harder because we have learned, we've built that mechanism in our heart to perform.
Right.
That's great.
Especially
Yeah.
in the African in this. I didn't understand purpose
Right.
at all. And now I do. And it's just like you get that clarity that you need.
There we go. So that's the thing that we need that clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the crazy part when we think about this whole idea of performance
Mm-hmm.
and this whole idea when it comes to this thing, performance is loud, purpose is rooted. So when I think about that, purpose is loud, performance is rooted. Purpose is often, I mean,
Purpose is rooted.
performance, but yeah, performance is loud, purpose is rooted, and performance is loud because that's the most attractive thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to look like somebody else
Right.
than it is to live and to be who you are supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to fake the funk, if that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah.
And I think that is the greatest detriment to the world and to us is that it's funny because who your favorite actor?
My favorite actor?
Hmm.
I don't know if I got a favorite
If y'all got a favorite actor, put that in the comments. Let me know who
I don't watch movies. For
you don't
real.
watch movies.
Not for real.
Oh, okay. Jesus.
I don't. I really don't.
You don't.
Honestly.
Okay.
I don't
Okay.
even have a favorite actor.
Wow.
I know.
Well, I'm a movie person.
Okay, who's your
but
favorite actor?
I like Keanu Reeves, but you probably don't know who that is.
I've heard of him.
Yeah.
Okay, name a movie.
Matrix.
Okay, you
Neo.
mentioned that. Yeah,
Yeah.
you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the well-known.
You got
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, let's go and turn there right back there. But when it comes to things like the performance part, right?
Mhm.
So when you think about what do you call it? Denzel Washington.
Mm-hmm.
He played in multiple movies.
Right.
Right. He played in multiple movies. He was in multiple scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like he played different individuals.
Right.
He played Malcolm X one time. So he played in all these different scenes. And so he's one person performing.
Right.
That he's not the same person. The people the Denzel we see is based on the movie that we like.
Right.
So the perception of him, Training Day, a lot of people reference him from Training Day. The perception of him in my view is from how he acted in that movie.
Right.
But that's not necessarily who he is as a person.
Right.
And so a lot of times that performance part is easy because it's attractive.
Mm-hmm.
Failing to realize that performance, it can be a part of your life, but it's not who you are.
Exactly.
And that's a thing. Purpose is who we that's who we be. That's in our DNA.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we have been created for.
Yes.
And that becomes the greatest challenge in this season of our life, is
Mhm.
learning how to shift that and move and to live in purpose.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's a big piece when it comes to that, like you said, because many people we are exhausted. We get exhausted
Mm-hmm.
because of we're trying to perform.
Farm. Yeah. That's
Burnout
good.
happens from that,
Yes, it does.
and I think that's a big piece there. Burnout happens because one of the things we got to learn is that we don't need to prove ourselves.
Right.
I want y'all put in the comments, not need to prove yourself, not one time. You don't need to prove yourself, form of fashion.
Yep. And when you find yourself like comparing yourself to other people, or you find yourself getting burnt out, like you're overworking and things, like that's when you need to take a step back and really analyze, okay, am I God will never call you to work harder than what you really need to.
Exactly. He doesn't. And that's the thing we have to understand. He doesn't call us to work harder than we need to. That's when we are in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't have, we are not called to live, to perform.
Mm-hmm.
We're called to live in purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And purpose doesn't require working hard. It's just being.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he told Adam. like he created Adam to be.
Right.
To be. And we have learned to embrace this whole mindset of performing instead of learning to be. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
And so that's a big thing that I think that in this season we have to learn to shift our minds and to shift our focus.
Mm-hmm.
So here's another thought I want to say tonight as we're like really building this, and I hope this is blessing somebody. What you're called to isn't always what you're seen for.
Mm.
Like I go back to that movie, what you're called to is not always what you're seen for. People see you for what you perform, but that's not who you call,
really
right? Who you really are. And I think a lot of times when we think about the calling, that calling is the thing that God brings us into. Like he pulls us in.
Mm-hmm.
We are called to in these areas. It becomes like a burden, but oftentimes people rather have that performance.
Right.
And I think that's a big piece, and one of the things we got to understand is that we cannot confuse being hidden from being behind. Let me say that again. We can't confuse being hidden from being behind. You know how you've been like working so hard at something, and and then you see your people like advancing and doing different stuff and making like they doing their stuff. You like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
When it's my turn, and a lot of times we feel like we're behind.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll try to perform and put on this show to try to catch up, and it's not
your time yet.
No. Let's talk about your journey. I mean, you're seeing a lot of creative individuals. You see a lot of opportunities. You see a lot of doors. You see a lot of businesses, and they are inspiring to see the level of growth and the level of opportunity, and that they got.
Yes.
But sometimes we can wrestle with that to make us perform and do something that we're not supposed to be doing.
I don't do that anymore.
So you did do it at one point.
I'm being completely honest. I did. When I first started, you're so inspired by all these different people, and you're like, okay, so they're doing this. That means I need to do this.
Yeah.
Or they're structuring their business this way. Okay, I need to do this. Or, just comparison, like if this worked for them, it got to work for me.
Right.
But you can't think that way.
Right. You can't.
That was a struggle of mine in the very beginning. Now I don't. If God put something on my brain, he gives me this creative idea, then I just run with it. And I know that it came from him.
Yeah.
And usually, like a concept that I'll have and I'll do it, and it ends up just being like a success.
Yeah.
So when God's speaking to you. Yeah.
And I think that's a big challenge when it comes to like, this things that pressure being behind that. The scripture, there's a scripture in the Bible.
Mhm.
Habakkuk 2, everybody quote the Habakkuk 2:2, write the
Mhm.
vision, make it plain.
Yep.
Then verse 3, it says, though it tarry, wait on it. That word tarry means though it delays, wait on it. For when it comes, it will not delay. In other words, when it shows up, it's going to be in the right time.
Right.
And sometimes we feel like that if it's not in our time, right?
Mhm.
If it's not in our season, if it's not in our moment, and the thing that we desire,
Right.
then we are behind time. So therefore, I must be doing something wrong. I think that was good.
That's good. I mean, that's
That's
the
true.
truth.
That's true.
That's the truth. That's honestly how a lot of people are.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. That is, and I think it is a challenge. It is a challenge, in this season because we're trying to like be something
Mhm.
that we're not
Right.
because we feel like we're behind the time.
Yep.
And that becomes a dangerous thing.
It's very dangerous.
Yeah, it's very.
But it's the time we're living in now. So it's like if you don't have that understanding that performance versus
Yeah.
purpose,
Yep.
I'm sorry, it's gonna be rough for you.
Yeah. So we want everything right now, and not knowing that some things come in stages in our lives,
Mhm.
and that right there, I've seen it destroy futures.
Mhm.
I've seen it destroy like literally opportunities
Yeah.
and doors because of that desire to have it now.
Right. But you also got to put the work in too.
Yeah.
Yes, you have a purpose and yes, you have a calling, but are you putting forward the necessary steps to make it happen?
Yeah.
God needs your help too.
Yeah.
Y'all got to work together.
Yeah.
He can't give you everything. I mean, he can,
Mm.
but he wants to see, okay, are you really serious?
Yeah. He desires to collaborate with us.
Mhm.
I always say that God has the ability to do all things when he want to, how he want to,
Mhm.
but he choose to collaborate with us.
Right.
Because otherwise he can, if that's called relationship. He desire to have a union and connection with us,
Right.
which requires us to live in that level of purpose in order to have that divine connection that we need. And a lot of times we tend to we tend to work hard at performing versus learning to be and learning to live in purpose.
Yes.
I think that's
a
good.
good one. That's a good one.
I think that's good.
That's good.
And that's the detriment. Jesus tells us, he said, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works. The works that you do, right? That light that shines, the representation of light in the Bible is also predicated to the Spirit of God. So let the Spirit of God be seen in your life through the good works that you do. And then he says that when that happens, people will in turn glorify God.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing in our life. We got to learn to change like that mindset. Is that good, y'all? I think this is really good. That's really good. I want to just say, that this is that season and that time. We have to change the way we have been thinking, the way we've been functioning, because this is like we got to come out of performance and learn to live in purpose. Performance. There's a season to perform. Right. There is a season to, when we talk about perform, we're not talking about, a costume,
right?
But there's a season where work can be done, but the work should not define you.
Right.
And that's the thing that we've been doing for years. We've been allowing the work to define who we are, man. And that's good, y'all. I think that's the challenge, that we have in this season. I want you to put in the comments, this is my season to live in purpose. I want y'all to put that in the comments. This is my season to live in purpose. Like we got to move beyond the performance and learning to live in the purpose
Mhm.
that we were created
Yes.
and designed to be.
Amen.
So here's a thing that I think, and I like what you said, and I don't want to miss it, because burnout is a real thing,
Mhm.
right? Burnout is a real thing, and performance brings us to that place of burning out, where we have exhausted all energy, we've exhausted all focus, we've exhausted all resources in our life,
Mhm.
and I believe that has led so many people in a place where they miss the moment because of that burnout.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's a very big thing. I want to read something. God never told us to impress. He told us to, here's a word, obey. Because obeying God or obeying and going down his direction
Mhm.
it never leads to burnout.
Nope.
Never leads to burnout.
Never.
We never get tired. I find myself, like, when I think about it, like when it comes to like burning out,
Mhm.
like if I ever feel like that, that means I've been doing it in my own strength and in my own way.
Yep.
And I realized, like, wait a minute, this is not the design. This is not the way. Is it possible to be a creative and be burned out?
I recently went through a
Oh,
season of burnout.
oh, you in the red chair, so we finna have a counseling session going.
My mama watching, she can tell you. Yeah, it literally, I did not want to be in front of my laptop, my computer at all. Like, I just was kind of like losing my passion for design.
Yeah.
And I was honestly, it just like overworking myself, just that burnout. And I was just like, I gotta take a step back. I gotta take a step back. I need to get in my word more. And now I'm like better than ever. Like, I'm back better than ever.
Yeah.
But I needed that break.
Yeah.
I need to take a step back.
So a way that you dealt with your burnout is reflection.
Mhm.
And for you to be able to get back into alignment with God.
Yes.
I think that's a crazy thing. I say not crazy in that, but I think it's a crazy thing that believers call themselves believers, and we don't know that the strength, the ability for us to move forward is our relationship with God. And that's a big piece. Paul tells us, like, hold up.
Mhm.
He said, like, when I'm weak, you are made strong. When I become burned out, that's when you flex. And that's the thing that, in other words, he's saying that my strength is me depending on him,
Mhm.
and me depending on him in all things. And I think that's the thing I realized, that a lot of believers live in a place of burnout
Mhm.
because they have gravitated to that reality that this is, like, literally the only, I'm burned out. I don't want to do it no more. I'm tired. I'm just
Mhm.
done. And it's like, hold up.
Yeah.
Like, when we get there, that's a big red flag.
It is. But then I had to go back, and I know that God, gave my mom says it all the time, like, it's God given talent, because I didn't know I was going to be a graphic designer. I didn't know I was that creative, So I had to go back to that feeling of, okay, God, you gave me this skill for a reason.
Right.
So I can't let this this sense of burnout just deter me from wanting to do graphic design. So that's why I just had to take a step back, and that's what people need to realize. Like, if you ever feel like that, don't give up, but just take a little pause, and then reset.
Yeah. It requires a lot of that, don't giving up is a big piece.
Mhm.
Cause giving up, you can give up to performing,
Mhm.
but you can't
Right.
give up to purpose.
Mhm.
Like, that's the being part,
Mhm.
cause that is the DNA. That is who we are.
Right.
And we have learned to do that for so long.
Mhm.
Here's the thing I wrote this down. If you're running at a pace that's killing your pace, if you're running at a pace that's killing your peace, it may not be purpose. It might be performance. So if I'm running at a pace, pace, PACE,
Mhm.
that's killing my peace, PEACE. So if I'm running at a pace that's killing my peace, it's not purpose. That's performance. So if I'm running and my peace is being messed with and being destroyed or being affected, that is telling me Like, hold up. I'm performing.
Yep.
I'm not living in peace. I'm not living in purpose. And that's a real thing.
That is a real thing. That's a good one.
And I think that's a thing that we gotta all understand. Like, we are not called to live at this place where we're struggling.
Mm-mm.
We gotta learn that's a pressure. It's pressure to perform as a mother. It's a pressure to perform as a father. It's a pressure to perform as a worker. It's a pressure. But if we learn to move from performing
Yeah.
and learning to be, that make a big difference. That within itself will safeguard our peace.
Yes. Preaching.
I ain't trying to do all
You
that now.
preaching.
Jesus. I ain't trying to do all that.
You preaching.
Is this
that's
good to
good.
somebody?
That's
Y'all
good.
y'all getting this? This is just a conversation we're having. Because this season we got to learn to not have to that pressure. Because pressure is real. That's a
Right.
real thing, and it keeps a lot of us from living full, happy, healed lives.
Yes.
And I think that's a big challenge in this season of our life. And we got to move away from that performance to learn to live in that purposeful, meaningful type of life.
Amen.
So this is really good. Here's another thing I wrote down. Every false version of success will demand a version of you that God did not design.
Mm.
Let me say it slow. Every false version of success will put a demand on your life that God did design. So when you have false version of success, okay, what that means is like you you put on the front that this is the type of life you have. I be on, oh Lord, y'all gonna crucify me.
Oh Lord. You gonna say
Lord.
TikTok.
Yeah. Yeah. Jesus. And there's these videos on there. This guy, he be talking about how, he shared this video of like famous people, and I think his name is Ray or something. He talking about famous people. He talking about like their story and things. And there was one he talked about how this person impersonated a son, and he did it for years. He impersonated a famous actor as that was his father, and people believed him. He kept performing. Like he would go get money. He would go, I mean, like literally, he would say, I'm this, such son. They believe him. He'd get their money. And he kept doing it, going to house to house to house to house.
What?
Yeah. To the point where he had to remember the lie that he told the first person, but then he ended up slipping up and not knowing that the person he just left, the person he just went to, that they are cool friends, and they end up having a conversation and expose the thing. So a lot of times those performance, that lie we live, my mama tells us all the time, you got to tell a lie to cover up the last lie.
That's true. That's true. You can't keep up with them all. So just live in your truth.
So here's the question: how many of us are living lies?
You get on social media every day, don't you?
You do. You do. Like,
I mean,
living lies. That's crazy though.
And then you start to compare yourself to these people that really is a lie. The life that they're living is a lie.
Yep.
And you're doubting yourself and you're being negative towards your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's like straight up real. That is a real thing. I believe that becomes like the greatest challenge in this season. Learning not to live those lies. Like it's so easy to fall in that type of trap.
Yes.
Listen, how many people, I want you to put in comments, like let's just be honest. Have y'all ever come across people that are, I like to say, living lies? Like everybody know that one cousin or that one friend. Maybe you. I'm just, maybe they might be the person. I don't know. But we all have seen somebody that we like, now because that's the type of life, like this whole glamorous thing, like social media make you,
they love it. Like,
yeah,
people just like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to be like that.
Yeah, they idolize performance.
Big time.
That's crazy.
Big time.
That's crazy. Remind me, I noticed that this crazy, but I read my Bible, so there's a story of there's a prophet Elijah
Uh-huh.
on a mountain, and he got the not what he was doing at time is in First Kings 17 when they
Mhm.
were out, and these people that served this not time of Queen Jezebel,
Okay.
and she had her own prophets, and their gods were God with Baal. So this had this standoff between the prophet of God, which is Elijah, and the prophet of Baal, prophets
Mm.
of Baal. And they said, okay, you stand there. They all laid out like the stuff to burn up wood and things like
Yeah.
that. And you call the prophet Elijah said, you call your God from heaven.
Mm.
And if your God responds, he's gonna consume, the fire, the wood, and things like that. So they was chanting all night, nothing
Yeah.
happened.
Mm.
Then Prophet Elijah put water around, laid out the wood, put the water around it, and called the God from heaven one time, and there was a fire that came down and consumed all the water, and no wood and nothing burned up. So so you see the difference between performing
Mhm.
and that purpose.
Yep.
This is the thing that we continue to desire, that type of lie. And that is the dangerous thing. That's real though. That's
It's
real
so real.
dangerous.
It's so real.
So here's the question that I want to pose to all of you, and I think it's important that we reflect on this. Who are we outside of the applause?
Mm.
Who are we outside of that applause, outside of the accolades, outside of looking for someone to say you did a good job?
Mm.
Who are we?
Mm.
Who are we? Because that's a true question that we should answer and ask ourselves. Because the danger is that if we don't take the time to reflect on that reality
Mm.
and understand that and identify who we are outside of that applause, we end up finding ourselves always in these cycles of pressure and burnout and frustration, because when you live in purpose, there is no frustration.
Right.
And that's what we want. We want all of us to discover. How long it take? Here's a question I want to ask you. There's nothing wrong with applause, right? But it's the danger when you look for the applause.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still struggle with that?
Mm-mm.
You overcame that.
I never looked for applause.
Okay.
I'm gonna be completely honest. I just showed up and did what I needed to do, and the applause came with it.
Uh,
I'm being humble. No, but honestly, I didn't.
You sound more holy than me.
I didn't. I didn't look for
You ain't look for
applause.
it.
I didn't.
You ain't struggled that one. Okay.
Mm-mm. Nope.
Because here's the thing, like, and that's good though. That's good, because if we continue to look for that, we will never be satisfied in life.
Nope. You got to think about you're doing this for God, for one, because He called you. If He called you for this, you're doing it for Him, and then you're doing it for you. You're showing up. So that's honestly how it went for me. I showed up and I did what I was supposed to do. And like I said, the applause came with it. Like, you have to do it for you.
Yeah. See, that question is a question of growth for like a lot of us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sometimes I have to step back myself and ask, someone telling me good job. I say thank you. I learn to do that, but learn to appreciate those things, but also learn to reflect too, because growth is not determined by how many applause.
Right.
Growth is determined by how well you can stand when there is no applause, when there is no, you did a good job, when you can be at peace, perform and fulfill your assignment without struggling in that type of area.
Right. I can't really see that
Yeah, I want to
comment.
see that comment. Let me see here. Because I think that's a very important thing.
It is.
Okay. So Pastor Dockery. Oh, okay. Our purpose is always tied to people. And what we are pursuing is for the applause of man and not for the advancement of man. We're not operating in purpose. That's good.
That's really
That's a real good statement there.
Mm-hmm.
That if it's about the applause of man, but not the advancement
Mm-hmm.
of mankind, then we're not operating in purpose. Because the advancement of mankind is about us pushing people and advancing them closer to God.
Mm-hmm.
It's about revealing God to them.
Right.
And I think that's a very good comment. Thank you for that one. Because that's the challenge that we got to have in this season of our life, is not getting so focused on the performance part, but learning to live in purpose. That's good.
That's really good.
I got another point for you. You're not your productivity, nor your post, nor your position. And I said again, you are not your productivity, nor your post or position. You're not that. In other words, that's what you do.
Right.
That's not who you are.
Right.
That is not who you are. And that becomes a big challenge in this culture of understanding the fact that that is not who we are designed to be. And like, seriously, it's so funny. People can have titles. I mean, you go to restaurants and people flock to them and they get this title. I never forget. God bless her. But that was that one supervisor I had in my life that had kept me in the place of prayer. Like, it kept me in a place of prayer. You were good. You were fine we was on the same level when you was my coworker. You got that boss, that title. Everything about you changed. You became super mean. Like, and I had to pray.
Yeah.
Pray. And that becomes the challenge, because when people get these positions, this is who I am. No, you're not, though. You are performing. That is not your identity. And we have associated those things in our lives as our identity.
Yes.
And that's not it.
Honestly, a lot of people struggle with finding their true
Yeah.
selves.
They do.
They don't even know who they really are.
Yeah. And we're gonna have a conversation. We're gonna dive deeper on purpose even more, because I've said this before, that purpose is not what we do. It is who we are. Why God created is the reason for our existence. So God gave us a reason to exist, and all of us have the exact same reason. We just struggle with that, and we associate that purpose as it relates to our assignment. Your assignment is different, but your purpose, your reason for being here, is all the same. Apple made these iPhones for one reason. One. That was communication. Ain't nothing else. I don't care. They can put a camera on there. They can put different apps on the phone. They can get different lens to that phone. At the end of the day, it was made for one reason: right. Communication.
Right.
And that is the thing, that each phone, it plays different. Samsung got a different type of, apps, and you can't get certain iPhone apps on Android phones, so they have different things, but we all are made for one reason. So I think that right there within itself is a challenge that we gotta have. We gotta learn to break away from that gravitation towards that level of performance, and learn to live in true purpose.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh.
Not the
Oh. She gonna ask me a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So, I would say, what would be the first step to trying to break away from that, and understanding that performance versus purpose with people who they're having a difficult time.
The first step is coming back to your why we were created.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back to the narrative of the creation narrative. And from as a believer, we ought to literally look through scriptures and identify everything that God said as it relates to who we are.
Yes.
And that begins to unravel. Bible tells us, like in Genesis, right? He created us in his image, after his likeness, to have dominion. In his image, where we are in his image, which means we have the DNA of God in us. So we are, in comparison, he is the infinite God,
Mm-hmm.
but we have the nature of God that we are, because we're spirit being
Right.
first. Then in his image, after his likeness, the character of God. We have the character of God, and then we have the ability to that dominion is the power of God. So we're able to operate in that power because we are in connection with him.
Right.
Right. So then you go to Psalms 8, and he tells us that we are, he made us the Lord of the angels, right? He tells us that we were created for glory, to glorify him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's so I say all that to say is that the way we start that journey is going back to the Bible, going back to what he says about who we are as a people. And when we do that, we will never, when we learn that and understand that, we will never forsaken performance. I mean, purpose for performance, because we understand who we are. We make mistakes, we have setbacks, but that should never make us say, this is who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Like, my setback is not who you are. Your setback is not who you are. Your mistakes is not who you are. When you have your purpose, you understand that, yeah, that was a moment, but that's not my identity. So
makes sense.
That's good.
That's good.
So yeah, I think that's a conversation we need to have. We're going to dive into that. We really are going to dive into that. So I think that's real good. I think I want to literally add some more, because we're going to wrap it up in just a second. But I want to add one thing in this, is that we have to embrace this thought. We don't need to perform.
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to perform. We don't need to work hard. We don't need to press hard. We don't need to do anything. We don't need to perform. We just need to be.
Mm-hmm.
We have to learn to be. That is a big part of us literally advancing. We just need to learn to be. So that's the challenge I think that all of us got to embrace. Mm-hmm. We got to detox our mindset from performing. And another way of doing that is maybe coming off social media for a season.
I was gonna say that.
Yep. Coming off social media for a season where you're not looking at everybody, Lamborghinis. It's funny that TikTok is one of the highest, they have one of the best algorithms, because they're for you, and what they give you are all synced to the things that you like. Mm-hmm. Like almost to T, you can watch the For You before you watch the people you follow.
Right. Yeah.
And just keep, because it's constant stuff that you enjoy, right, that you appeal to. And that is a big thing, is that if we don't become careful, we keep flocking to that, keep flocking to that, keep flocking to that. And we miss the fact that that's what he wants. He wants you to desire that performance. He wants you to desire those things. And that's the thing we got to start breaking off of us.
Yes. So true.
So you got a TikTok page?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
I got 2 of them.
Oh.
For business,
Oh, you got 2 pages.
Photography, graphic design.
Oh.
One of them just, my video just hit, 230K,
Oh, Jesus. Lord have mercy. Well, we might need to pray about this one, then.
No, but if I needed to, I could.
You could.
I could.
It's good.
Yeah.
That's a practice that we need to all have in our life, is learning to break away. Taking the season. That's a word for some of y'all. You're watching this now, you're watching this later. Learn to break away, so you don't have to continue to exert the energy of performing.
Mm-hmm.
Learn to break away from the cycles of performance. Break away from that. Just become. Just become. And that's what we have to learn to do. Here's my last thing I want to say. God's love isn't attached to your last performance. It is anchored in your identity.
Mm.
That your God don't love you based on the thing that you do. He loves you based on who you are. That's true facts.
Facts.
Like he loves you based on who you are. And that's the thing that we gotta like learn to understand. Like one day question is, you desire to be a parent one day?
One day.
One day. I
In
know.
God's time.
God's time, because I know when it came to me and my wife, Lord, we went from 0 to 3.
Gotta, first.
I don't, amen. You need to be big on that.
What you were saying when it came to me?
Maybe I should have asked.
Yeah,
Pastor. Get married first. I was just asking about the kids in general. But you're right though. That's right. Beyonce said you got to put a ring on it. She ain't no God, but yes, that devil. Anyway, but yeah, she said. But we went from 0 to 3. Overnight, just 0 to 3 kids, and we learned to love them. Like all of our kids, we love them, not based on the mistakes they make,
right, but
based on who they are.
Yeah,
and that's a reality. Like they can make them the greatest mistakes in life, but that love does not change. Unconditional. You may get consequences. You're gonna get punishments, because the Bible tells us in Hebrews chapter 13 that he chastises whom he loves. In other words, he corrects those that he loves. That's what God does.
Yeah.
But that love is not withdrawn from the mistakes because the mistakes we made. Mm-hmm. We got to learn to understand that God doesn't predicate his love based on the performance. Every time you have great success, every time you done did it right, every time you done slipped up, right, every time you done quit. But each one of those times, his love always remained true. It remained the same. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the challenge that we all, as people, have to embrace that part. Because when we learn to embrace that, we'll start to see change in how we view God, how we view ourselves, and how we live. Because that pressure to perform is real. Mm-hmm. It has led people to suicide. Robin Williams is another. Mm-hmm. You know who he is, right? Okay, I just make sure, because you say you don't like movies. Or you don't watch movies.
I didn't like movies.
Oh, make sure, because I'm slightly offended, because I like movies. I'm a movie person.
A movie watcher, really.
Right. Amen.
But I do know about movies too.
Okay, just make sure.
Yeah.
Right. You sure?
Yes.
What movie you play in?
Mrs. Doubtfire.
Oh, that's the only movie you know?
And some other movies.
Okay.
I just don't remember the name.
Okay. All right. On the next episode, I need you to have at least 1 or 2 more in your repertoire.
Okay. All right.
But Robin Williams he was great, good actor, wonderful actor, funny.
Yeah.
But suicide got him. The pressure of performing got to him. And no one knew that he was dealing with that. I mean, there were hints, but that was a shock,
right? Because
people didn't expect that. Even the White Ranger, what's his name? Jason, Power Rangers. See,
you lost me.
All right. I say he's a to kids. He was a superhero.
Yeah.
Well known. If I show you a picture, you probably because a lot of us, you didn't necessarily have to watch it to know who he was.
Gotcha.
Suicide. That performance and that part can get us, and that becomes a detriment to our future. If we learn to pull away from that level of performance and learn to live in purpose, that burnout won't happen. And we learn to live in that freedom. So listen, that was the conversation tonight.
That's good.
I hope y'all enjoyed the conversation.
That was great.
We want we wanted more interaction with y'all. So next time we want some more comments,
Yes.
some more pushes in there. But we appreciate y'all. Listen, if this was good, I want y'all to let us know it was good, that y'all appreciate the conversation. This is a season that we really want to help individuals like grow and become and be all that they were destined to be in this. And so I just think this is going to be a good time to really understand that there is still so much more in you. You are still called to do greater things. That pressure to perform has to be, you have to be free from that, and you got to learn to live in that place of joy and excitement, because you know who you are. You know your purpose,
Yes.
and you know how to be instead of just do. So I think that's a big piece to our future. And we hope to help you along this journey as we push you so that you can live your life in 3D. That's our goal. We want you to live your life knowing your purpose, developing your potential, and being deployed in your assignment. That's what we want, so that you can live in that place of freedom. So, Leah, this is episode number 4.
Yep.
When we get to number 10, we got to do something special. I don't know what we're going to do when we get to number 10. Yep.
Little cupcakes with 10 on it.
Yep. Little cupcakes. We're going to figure something out. We're going to figure, you must be hungry. So
I am. I got sweet tooth.
But we're gonna figure something out on episode number 10. We're gonna be pushing this a lot more to really build the community, because we want you all to feel a part of something greater than just this. So we're gonna step out and do greater things in this next season. This season, as we get ready to come into the summer full-fledged. So just excited.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. So we appreciate y'all sticking with us through this episode, and we look forward to the next one, and it's gonna be good. So you got some last words you want to say?
Oh, I think that can conclude number 4. I think this was really good.
Okay, awesome.
Really good.
Awesome. I think this was I think it was good too, and so I believe this is going to be, episode 5 is coming around. It's around the corner, so we're just gonna keep do it. So awesome. Good. We appreciate y'all. Thank you all for rocking with us. I see you, Vinny. Thank you, Chris. I seen you on there. Awesome. Pastor Dimitri on. My sister Miracle was on. My lovely wife was on. And so we appreciate all of y'all, and those that haven't said anything, we appreciate y'all. We see y'all in here, and thank you. Until next time, live your life in 3D. See you later in 3D. Bye.